What I've learned in breaking the chains and cycle of alcoholism, abuse in my family line, doing the generational, bring something new to the table kind of thing. I know for sure my parents, grandparents on both sides, all suffered from alcoholism. Maybe not the grandmothers, but definitely the grandfathers, and then both my biological parents. And so there is something in our body's structure that functions better with alcohol. This has been scientifically proven. That's why Social Security was developed. One of the reasons for Social Security was for alcoholics, because it is perceived as an incurable disease, and this is why it's perceived as incurable. Now, addiction is also associated with what they call high pain tolerance. It is not that our bodies are less susceptible to damage or pain. It just means our consciousness has developed the strength to ignore and push down and suppress, especially by anger-fueled adrenaline, which I chose not to use, but rather a very strong consciousness that represses and interferes with my conscious mind's ability to receive cues from my subconscious, my physical body. And that's because of trauma. So a lot of people with trauma, it's fight or flight. I freeze. So my consciousness had to be strong enough to shut down absolutely all other signals and focus intellectually on what are my options here. Or just play dead. I have a possum mode. I shut off berserker mode because I did have that when I was younger. So wrapping this all together, I know that when it comes to alcohol, once I start, I don't want to stop. I have to reach a certain level before I will feel comfortable stopping. But that level doesn't register here when it's okay here, because here is like, oh, I'm feeling good. And I don't drink on a regular basis, but every once in a while I get a very bone deep ache and pain and exhaustion. It is in my bones. I feel it. And that's why those of us with this structure, this series of coping mechanisms, often suffer from chronic fatigue, because I have all the symptoms of chronic fatigue, because our body has an overactive immune system. So that means it starts attacking itself. And so we are tired because our body is fighting itself. And alcohol is a high octane fuel. And it's something that our body can fight. Like when I get sick, I crave junk food. That's because it's something that my body can attack. My overactive immune system now has something to do besides attack and feed off itself. So these are the things that I've learned. Number one, I only ever, if my bones are aching, I obtain only enough alcohol to get that nice buzz. I know what my limit is. With its wine, it's like 2 glasses or 2 containers. The same thing with like a twisted tea or something like that. I no longer need like really hard alcohol involved. I used to drink a lot, and it would have to increase constantly. And that's why a lot of people will die if they quit cold turkey, because now their entire ability to function that they've created is taken away, and they're left with no tools. And so it's best to start working with the psychological and emotional intelligence, and then the need for alcohol for emotional and intellectual reasons starts to recede, and then you're left with the physical, which then just needs time to adjust, and maybe certain vitamins, minerals, alternatives that trigger the body to create for itself. I don't know about the overactive immune system. It's probably overactive, now it's coming to me, as probably overactive because I suppress my happiness, my excitement, my exuberance. I've suppressed letting things touch my heart, to have that appreciative love, that warm expression of the things around me, like sharing a real relaxed state of being with even my dog. I was traumatized as a youth. My parents told me that my cat was killed by a fox, but now that I'm older, I know that it wasn't killed by a fox because it wasn't eaten. It wasn't taken off. It was probably one of my parents that killed my kitten. And my mother's killed renters, people who rent from her. She's fed their kittens radiator fluid. Our dogs were put down if they did something wrong. Things like that. So I learned to not empathically love anything and not receive love empathically, because that protected me and anything that would come close to me. So that could be a reason that's resonating for an overactive immune system. I have a lot of energy that needs to be fed, to be exchanged, to be nourished, to be expressed. There we go. Being a cycle or a chain breaker, these may be some of the things that will be helpful for you to know. It helped me, and it helps me to speak it out loud. As you see, there are answers that come as I speak to myself, because I'm also observing with a view of what other questions might be asked by other people who may be listening, observing, criticizing. Always got my ears open for that one. Not anymore, I hope. Not anymore. We have confidence. We have faith that we will not react. We will consider any opposing viewpoints. We're all working on it here. And yes, I know my face is swollen on this side. I have an impacted tooth that keeps wanting to come in. The fisherman. Why not?